Welcome to Battleship. This is the game me and Cadet Eller have been working on. It's still a work in progress. However, we think that we have a majority of our code down, and now is just implementing a few minor things like a GUI in order to make the project ready for submission. The purpose of this video will be pretty much to walk through the code we have, explain how everything works as it is, why we think it's a fantastic start, and features that we're going to add. One of the things we've done is that we've pretty much made the code very easily portable to a GUI format. We just haven't got around to it because it proved a little bit more challenging than what we thought. We're going for the minimalistic, like simple looking vibe for our game, which you can see by this picture, which is pretty simple and it categorizes Battleship pretty nicely. So to actually get to the code, we're gonna look at it, and what we did is we did a little bit of class inheritance here. So we started off by making a boat class, which we use for all 5 ships in Battleship. You may or may not know Battleship uses 5 boats, and you want to sync all of them to win. The way we have it set up right now, it's primarily a first-person game, but it's definitely portable to 2 players or player versus computer. But right now, it's just player versus computer. The motivation behind this project is that we really like Battleship, and we thought it would be pretty fun to implement. And we used almost every concept we covered in this course, especially object-oriented and classes, which proved to be invaluable. Anyway, back to the code. So we, like I said earlier, we created the boat class, and then we sub-inherited the boat class to the 5 specific ships. We have aircraft carrier, battleship, destroyer, submarine, and patrol boat. Some of the things in the boat class, you have the size, direction, hits, and X and Y positions, and whether or not the ship is sunk. By default, they all start off to 0 and false. Additionally, we gave functions to specify directions, add the hit count, and check to make sure the X position is valid. This is primarily for a user-based entry system. If it's a computer-based picking the position, this is going to change. This is actually going to go away because we don't have to check it, because the computer is automatically going to create valid coordinates. But basically what it checks here to make sure it's within the grid. Battleship's played in a 10 by 10 grid, which we'll go over how we create later. But basically when we create the subclasses of boat, we also check to make sure that the position you enter isn't off the board by adding the position by the size of the specific ship, mod 10, and if it's not equal to itself, it means it goes off the board, because anything less than what it's being mod by should return itself in Python. Anyway, we skip all these classes and let's go down to our main function just so we go over how it works. So like this right here, this big initialization line from 237 to about 259 is one way of implementing the starting board. What we're doing is we're basically creating a bunch of objects, basically the battle boats, battle boat, aircraft boat, etc. And we're statically setting the board. This can also be done randomly, which is definitely a future implementation, or it could be done in a 2-player mode. It actually looks, the board, this one actually looks like this. Is the current setup, is what we have it. But basically, yeah, so what we do is we do all of that, and then we make a boat board creates a blank 10 by 10 matrix with all 0 values. Loaded matrix will then add all these positions of the battle boats to a board and call it the loaded matrix. So it's basically the master board with all the answers on it, and it's created here in this long function. And we also see we did some exception handling for if a boat already exists there, so you can't put a boat in the same spot twice. So that happens. Then you also get a progress matrix where it makes the boat board. It makes another one so you can see your project. This is basically like the top screen when you play Battleship, where you have a 1 or a -1, 1 being a hit, -1 being a miss. And then basically we go into this master while loop, where as long as you have 1 ship that's not sunk, it's true, so it will continue to execute. But once you get 1 that's not, you get game over, you sunk all my ships. So basically what happens is you enter an X coordinate of a shot, you enter a Y coordinate of a shot, And then you have your test shot function, which tests whether the function hits or not. And if it does hit, it adds a counter to the attribute of ship.hits. And if that becomes over the size of the ship, you sunk the ship, and then it returns false, which affects the while loop. Then after that, it updates the progress matrix with the -1 and 1, whether it was a hit or a miss, and then it basically loops through, and you get this while statement for basically a one-person game. Some implementations, we're obviously going to add the GUI, but it's really easy to add the GUI. All the GUI really needs to do is take the data from progress matrix, loaded matrix, and then inputs. So there's 4 real things to do for the GUI, pretty simple. And additionally, if we want to add maybe randomization of the initial start values, which is going to be pretty simple. It's just importing the library and testing to make sure it's a valid position. And additionally adding maybe a 2-player game. I don't know, we feel like we have a pretty good start, and that wraps up our brief overview of our project.